Hello, everyone. Welcome to my first webinar. I'm so excited to be sharing this time together with you today. Greetings from Sedona. And it will be great to see who is live with us. If you want to say something in the chat, just to type your name. I know that many of you will be listening to the recording later, especially with the time difference. So at least to see who is here with us today, if you want to type your name or say something in the chat, that would be great. So thank you to those that completed the survey. It gives me an idea to who is going to be joining. So I know who is already familiar with the Tzolkin. There are a few people that said that it's all new for you. So it's very, very exciting that you're opening up to the magic of the Tzolkin. I'm going to be sharing step by step an overview of the main components of the Tzolkin, and hopefully you'll be enchanted by the magic as I was 20 years ago, and you'll continue exploring on your own and joining us in other webinars as well. If you have any questions, I see several. Houston, Argentina, Australia, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Canada, wonderful, different places. So welcome everyone. Just to say a few words about the Tzolkin and I. It was a love at first sight. In 1999, next year it will be literally 20 years ago. It has been the most fun and magical journey since. And the paradox of the Tzolkin is that when you just become familiar with it, it sounds complex. There are many layers and many components and many things that are happening at the same time. And through that complexity, it helps to make life simpler. So for the ones of you that you're new into this, just take a deep breath, smile, and let's enjoy the ride together. As I said before, you can type, if you have any questions, you can type it in the chat box, and I'll be covering them as I go through those topics, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of time at the end to do some Q&A in general as well. There are many different ways to connect with the Tzolkin. For me, it's a very down-to-earth, practical tool of self-empowering empowerment, and it really helps to bring more meaning and purpose into our daily lives. It's a way of conscious living to really become aware of all the beautiful synchronicities that happen in our lives. And sometimes we're so busy that we don't really acknowledge them, or we just say, oh, what a coincidence. Well, we all know that coincidences do not exist. So the more we pay attention to those synchronicities and the more we allow oneself to experience the magic, the more they unfold. So yeah, just to say one more word about it, the Tzolkin is very poetic, colorful. It's truly a language for the soul. It's very inspiring and transforming. And for the ones of you that receive my voice spells, I connect with it as the transformation from being a caterpillar, allowing oneself to enter into our cocoon when necessary, and turning into beautiful butterflies. Let me go here so you can see. There are 2 counts that are being followed today. So sometimes I receive emails of people that are a little bit confused because there are differences between both. One of them is the Tzolkin, that is the traditional way followed in Guatemala. And the one that I work with and live by is the modern version of the Yucatecan Tzolkin that is the base of the dream spell in correlation to the 13-moon calendar. And this is the version that I was introduced to decades ago. And yeah, so one thing that is very important when we learn anything new, in our lives, especially in this case, something that helps us to get in tune with our own rhythms and live life on a soul level. Concepts are concepts. Theory is theory. It may sound interesting, but it's just an accumulation of concepts and, of course, expands our knowledge. But if you really, really want to experience the Tzolkin magic, the invitation is to put that knowledge into practice. And that's when you step into the wisdom of the ages. And to do that, today it's going to be concepts. Today it's theory. I'm going to be sharing the basics. From now on, the invitation is to play. Just allow yourself to play, have a lot of fun, even if you don't, quote unquote, understand it, and understanding will come later. So let's start. Here we go. Most of us were familiar that in Western astrology, there are 12 signs. It goes from Aries to Pisces, and depending on our date of birth, will be one of those 12 signs. In Mayan astrology, there are 20 signs. We can see the signs as archetypes, personalities, behavior traits, tendencies. There is a beautiful saying, Astros guide, but don't decide. So even though we have one of those 20 signs, we can always choose what we do with that. We have the free will to make choices. And that's where this tool is so powerful, because we can see each one of those archetypes from the light and the shadow aspects. Light is when we live life heart-centered on a soul level. And shadow is the ego mind going crazy with all these movies and dramas and issues that we all have as human beings. And they're necessary. So it's not that shadow is bad and light is good. Both are part of our experience, being human and spiritual beings at the same time. So the invitation, as we get in tune with the Tzolkin cycle, we know our own kin, our own energy, and the energy of the day, is to connect both from the light and shadow aspects. And in the end of the day, the invitation is to transform those shadows into light. So I'm going to mention very briefly about the 20 signs or 20 glyphs themselves. As I mentioned before, I like to call them archetypes. They're symbols, birth signs, energies. In the modern count, they're called solar seals, and they go from 1 to 20, always in the same sequence. And each one, the first one, red dragon, is always red. Dragon cannot be white. It's red dragon. It's a cycle in itself. So let's say today is yellow star, number 8. Tomorrow will be red moon, number 9, and so on. When we get to number 20, we start with red dragon again. So it's a perpetual cycle from 1 to 20 that repeats itself over and over again. So the day that you're born, you have an energy available to you, the same as Western astrology. You have a chart, an oracle in this case, that will tell you which energy you are. That's your sign. In my case, I'm yellow star, so beautiful opportunity to do my first webinar alone on a yellow star day. We had a beautiful experience with Julie from Diamond Light World last year, and it was different. We did it together, so it was a dialogue. So yeah, this today is my first time, and doing it on a yellow star day is great for me, being a yellow star. So let's go to the numbers. Solar seals are like the solar sign, the masculine energy, what we do. The numbers, called in the modern version lunar tones, are lunar, the feminine, a more subtle energy that adds a vibration and action into what we're here to do. So combined, the solar seal and the lunar tone, the glyph and the number, they give a special connotation to what we're here to do and how we do that. So I gave the example before, I'm yellow star, so I'm here to create arts. I'm here to live as an artist. I'm number 3. 3 is called electric, so I'm yellow electric star. So how do I do that? I do that by bonding. I do that by connecting the dots. I do that by being of service. So here you have an example of what I am as a sign and which tone gives me that vibration or action to follow on how to create or how to share my creativity. So now we have 2 cycles happening simultaneously. We mentioned before the glyphs, 120, 120, 120, perpetual. And the numbers are 113, 113. So there is a sequence of 13 numbers, always again in the same order. So 1 it's called magnetic, 13 is called cosmic. When cosmic ends, magnetic starts again. And this sequence creates a movement. There's a story that is being told that we'll see a little bit later when I mention about the wave spells. In their combination, we can see it as cogwheels that are turning at the same time. 120, 120, 113, 113. So 120, when 21 comes, it's 1 again. 113, when 13 comes, it's 1 again. So we see how these 2 subcycles create something that is called a kin. Kin is a combination between a glyph and a number. So in my case, yellow star is the glyph. Number 3, which is called electric, I'm yellow electric star. That's my kin name. We'll see afterwards what the number is. The thing is that the, give me 1 second because I'm going 1 second over the questions as well. Okay, so here's the very specific questions that I'm going to be sharing when we see the kins. I'm responding to Joshua. I'll share about it in a little bit. So this combination called kin, that it's a glyph and a number, combined 20 by 13 is 260. So the Tzolkin calendar is a cycle of 260 combinations that together, we have it here, they correlate. In that moment, it was the hub. Today, wrongly, is the Gregorian calendar. I'll mention a couple of words about the Gregorian calendar a little bit down the road. So today, January 26th, is yellow star. In 20 days, it will be yellow star again. Today is stone number 1. In 13 days, it will be number 1 again. Yellow star 1, yellow magnetic star, will happen again on January 26 every 52 years. Because one cycle is 260, the other cycle is 365. So I'll share a few words about it when we see the calendar round, as it's called, in a few slides from now. But I wanted to mention it now just to get the feeling of the 260 repeating itself, perpetual. Like the Gregorian calendar, December 31st gives birth the next day to January 1st. So let's go here. This combination of 260 kins or days creates a matrix. The matrix in the modern version, it's called harmonic module. And at first, when we see it, it looks like a lot of information. And you'll see how easy it is to understand it. Here we have red dragon. the power of birth, the one that initiates new beginnings. And here you have number 1. So Dragon 1 gives birth to an entire new 260-day cycle. This will happen on February 8th, which is really cool because it's very soon. So for the ones that are just becoming familiar with the Tzolkin, it will be a great opportunity to start playing from day number 1 and see how magic unfolds as you go through the cycle. So the way of reading the harmonic module, we have 1 dragon. If you go down to here, yellow sun, these are the 20 glyphs that I mentioned before. When we get to yellow sun, we go back to red dragon. So reading the harmonic module is like a zigzag. We start in 1, we go down to 20, we come back on the second column, 21, we go down to 40, the third column, 41, we go down to 60, and so on until we get to the last day that is here, 260. And that's Sun 13. So you start on the left top corner, down, up the second column, down, up, down, until you get to the end, 260. 260 will be February 7th because we are ending the cycle that we're transiting right now. So today, we'll see in the next slides all this information at once. Kin 248, initiating this last period of 13 days with 13 different tones that end on February 7th, so that the next day, February 8th, we give birth to an entire new cycle. So here we have the star with 1 dot on top. As we saw before, Mayans wrote their numbers with dots and bars. 1 dot is number 1, and 1 bar is number 5. So if you want to write, let's say number 6, it will be a bar and a dot. So here we have both subcycles combined. The glyph is the yellow star. The tone is number 1, which is called magnetic. And combined glyph and number is called a kin. In our case, kin 248 is yellow magnetic star. So just as a reference, here we have how to read the harmonic module. The glyphs go from top to bottom, and the numbers go like this. So we see, let's say in the case of the yellow star that is today, we have 13 different stars. All the stars relate to creativity. That additional layer, of subtle layer of the tone will give a vibration, a connotation on how to do that. Let's go to this page. Here we have all the information that I just mentioned. The Gregorian day today is the 26th of January, 2018. The kin today is 248. It's called yellow magnetic star. So here we have the glyph is the star. We look for 1 dot. It's here. This harmonic module is different than the previous one. The previous one showed the kin numbers. This one shows the Gregorian date. So you see here all the 260 dates that refer to this cycle that we're transiting right now. So we have May 24th, 2017. That was Dragon 1 when the cycle started. And it ends kin 260 here with Sun 13 on the 7th of February 2018. And then here, what I mentioned before as well, yellow star will happen every 20 days. Today we're here, next yellow star is here, 20 days from now. Tone number 1 will happen again, once we finish this period of 13 days, here is one again. But yellow magnetic star on January 26th, I know this is very small to see, but here in this little cell, it says January 26th. Happened, last time it happened was in 1966. Next time it will happen is in 2070. So even though kin 248 repeats itself every 260 days, it will fall on January 26th, 52 years ago and 52 years from now. Some of you said that you're not familiar with your kin, with your sign. So I added here, you can go to MayanKin.com, to my website. In the menu, it says Today's Energies, submenu Daily Tzolkin. And there is a tab there where you can select another date, put the month, the day, the year, search, and it will tell you which kin you are. We have next, actually, on the last day of this cycle, on the 7th, February 7th, another webinar to go over the planner. The ones of you that don't have it, you can get it. If you don't have it by then, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be mentioning some page numbers and so on, but it will give you an idea how to get in tune with the cycle anyway, and you can get it later if you want. So it would be great to know your key number as well if you join on the 7th. So let's see something that is very important, and I get a lot of questions about gap days and the mystic column. If you see, I'll go back 1 second. No, I don't know how to go back. Let's see, like this. Apparently it doesn't let me go back. Here it is. So if you see here, we see, oh, there is a delay, so it's going on to do slowly. Here it is. So if you see the rows, red dragon has a red row, white wind, white row, blue night, blue row, and you see sometimes green cells, and in the middle, the purple cells. So let me go back slowly to this one. The green cells create the shape, the DNA shape of double helix, and there are 52. Each Tzolkin cycle has 52 galactic activation portal days. Gap days can be understood as an antenna that is wider, so we can download cosmic wisdom. And those are days of increased intensity. They feel very intense. If you were born on a gap day, it's a true blessing, same when we transit gap days, because the antenna is wider. We can download more. We can connect with the wisdom of the ages on a very profound level, way beyond the understanding and the mind. The thing is that we mentioned before, light and shadow, soul, ego, those days are very intense. So if we are, as I like to call it, the hamster wheel, that we're caught into an issue, a problem, and we're running around that same problem, and things feel very messy, that intensity makes it even more messy. So gap days are a great invitation to truly envision our dream into being, to truly envision those things that we want to see manifested in our lives, to bring more beauty into the world. And that antenna, that portal, that opening will intensify all that, will activate something within. So especially for those of you that were born in gap days, that's not only the energy of the day, it's your energy of birth. So here we have 2 consecutive gap day columns for 10 days, consecutive days. Lots and lots of intensity. Those days are great to truly embrace the beauty of what we want to bring into the world, and they open a portal to activate all that. We still have time for that. We said before that here it's going to be February 7th, so I'll be sharing in my wave spells more information about this period of time that is very, very intense. For the ones of you that are familiar, this is the blue castle of transformation. The ones in the middle, those purple days, they are called core days. And that column, the 7th column from 13 columns, is the center, the middle. So since it's in between the two gap columns, the mystic column invites us to be centered and aligned in the here and now, to be grounded, to be present. And that column can be, symbolically speaking, seen as our spine that keeps us straight and aligned. And in the heart of the Tzolkin, the center of the center, that's between the numbers kin 130 and 131, it is said that we're closer to Hunapku, the pulse of life, and that's the day to truly embrace our heart-centeredness experience on earth and share it with others. So let's go now to another concept, and that's when I send my wave spell messages out. Every 13 days, we mentioned before, number 1 starts again. We saw the lunar tones or the numbers 113, 113. So number 1 initiates what is called a wave spell. In the traditional count, it's called trecena, 13, number 13. So here is today. We see, let me go back for a second. We see January 26, that it starts a new period of 13 days where we are invited to embrace beauty, to embrace creativity. Number 1, that's why it's called magnetic. It's like a magnet. It attracts something. Number 1 of any wave spell, in other words, the first day of any wave spell from 1 to 13 sets the purpose of the next 13 days. So even though each day has its own energy, right? We said each one of the kins has its own energy. The underlying theme is set by day number 1. So here you have visually the wave spell that we're starting to transit today. It starts with yellow star, number 1, yellow magnetic star. It sets the purpose for all these 13 days until February 7th, when we give closure not only to this wave spell, but also, as we saw before, to this entire Tzolkin cycle. Sun 13, which is called yellow cosmic sun, gives closure to the entire cycle, and it is kin 260 out of 260. So I'm going to say just a few words about wave spells, and that's why I like to share my messages every 13 days. This magnetic tone that attracts, that invitation, as I like to call it, in this case, to connect with art, with beauty, with creativity, is very powerful because, as I mentioned before, light and shadow, all of us, it doesn't matter if we're yellow star from birth or not, we're all artists in nature. For the ones of you that saw the dialogue between the caterpillar and the butterfly, so many times we repress our artistic call to do something beautiful, or we feel bad because we look different, we say something different. And yellow star is a reminder that we're all artists, that we're all beautiful, that we're all unique. If there's 7 billion people in the world or more, now it is said it's closer to 8 billion, there's 7 or 8 billion ways of doing things. So in the shadow side, we try to fit into the mold. And the mold changes constantly because fashion 100 years ago, a woman that was 200 pounds was much more beautiful than 50 pounds. So fashion changes all the time. What is the mold? The mold doesn't exist. It's something totally transitory. So the invitation for the next 13 days is to really embrace beauty for what it truly is. And that's the invitation when we connect with the wave spell, to connect both from the light and the shadow. That's what I've been trying to transmit with my wave spell messages in the cycle between the caterpillar, symbolically representing the ego that always has issues, and the caterpillar, the butterfly, representing the soul that sees things from a different perspective. So the invitation for each wave spell is to connect with the underlying theme of what we're invited to embrace during those 13 days, and then each day to get in tune with the energy or the kin of the day. And as it says here, a wave spell tells a story. The more we embrace our creativity, our inner artist, the more beautiful we feel for who we are, as unique as we are, as the green caterpillar in the story today, the more we shine and the more empowered we feel to share our light with the world. So by stepping into our own power, by embracing our uniqueness, we, like the sun, bring clarity and bring all that beauty into the world. I'm going to go here because I want to just give you like a quick overview and then create some time to do it a little bit more interactive to see if you have questions and we can answer to it and go back to those slides. We said that a wave spell is a period of 13 days that has a beginning and an end. It starts with magnetic tone, it ends with cosmic tone, and in between magnetic and cosmic, a story is told. Every 4 wave spells, let's see here, we have 1 that starts with red, 2 that starts with white, 3 that starts with blue, and 4 that starts with yellow. Each 4 wave spells, always in the same order: red, white, blue, yellow. It creates what it is called a castle. A castle is a period of 52 days that is composed by 4 wave spells of 13 days each. So if we said that each wave spell has 13 days, 4 wave spells together, 4 by 13, create this period of time called castle of 52 days. When we look into an oracle, when we do an oracle reading, the layers of information that come out of the oracle can be seen in the shape of an onion, as I like to transmit. We have the day that we were born, that's our kin and the supporting energies. We have the wave spell we were born, that can be seen as the week, like a week. Instead of 7 days, it's a week of 13 days. And we were born in a month, symbolically speaking, instead of 32 days, 31 days. It's a week, a month of 52 days. I want to say something here that I mentioned briefly before about the Gregorian calendar. because we live our lives by the Gregorian calendar. And for us, it's obvious that January has 31 days, and it's obvious that June has 30 days. This calendar is quite new. It's not that old. We had the Julian calendar, the Roman calendar, and if we really connect with it, if we say July, as of July, August, month 8, right? September, month 9, comes from siete, 7. October, number 8, is the 10th month. November, that we know it as the 11th month, comes from nueve, number 9. December, the 12th month, comes from diez, number 10. So what we take for granted as what rules our time is not aligned to any natural cycle. So the invitation of getting in tune with these cycles and connecting with the symbolic world in ways that work for us is realigning us with our natural rhythms. We see here what the colors mean. Red is the power of initiation, starting something new. So we said February 8th initiates a new Tzolkin cycle. We're going to be here, Dragon 1. Then we have the 13 days of the wave spell of the Red Dragon. That wave spell ends. We start with the next wave spell. It's the White Wizard. Time to create magic, to live the sacred, to bring more rituals into our lives, and so on. So we start spiraling into a wave of connecting with life in a conscious way, and a rhythm is created. So connecting with the castles is a beautiful way to say, okay, September, let's start with February 8th here. I have all these days, 52 days, to connect with my intentions, with what I want to see manifested in the next 260 days, starting the strongest with the power of birth with the Red Dragon. And then we jump to the White Castle. Okay, I started things. I had this list of new beginnings, of things that I want to see manifested in my life. From what I have today, what serves my purpose and what doesn't? So the White Castle is the castle of refinement. This, yes, this, no. I need this, I don't need this. So we bring some order. We put some priorities. We classify what we have. And in that discernment, I need this, I don't need that, we go to this castle that I showed before with the gap columns and the mystic column. That's when the intensity happens. The blue castle of transformation. This is the castle of the alchemist, where alchemy happens. It's called also the castle of burning, because things get transformed, transmuted into something else. I like to call this castle, when we prepare a cake, when we mix all the ingredients and the eggs are not eggs anymore, the flour is not flour anymore, the sugar is not sugar anymore, everything gets transformed into something new. So when we finish the preparation here, let's say of the cake, as I gave the example in the book as well, we here in the yellow castle, learning from the experiences, from this moment of transformation, from that intensity, here, the ripening, maturing, we get, let's say with the example that I gave before to make it visual, we clean our kitchen, we start smelling, a cake is coming. We start sharing with our friends, come, have a piece of cake. So this is the moment of sharing in that ripening, in that learning from the previous experiences, we are starting to get ready to, in the green castle, transcend, eat the cake, give closure to this entire cycle, and get ready to start a new one 52 days later. So today, we're here in this dot. We saw that the castles are composed by 4 wave spells. 1, 2, 3, 4, that always start with red, white, blue, yellow. Today is yellow magnetic star, star 1, initiating the wave spell of the yellow star. Here, sun 13, yellow cosmic sun, that will be February 7th. And then, as I showed before, we jump to the new cycle, February 8th. The cycles are perpetual. As I mentioned at the beginning, 120, 120, 113, 113, the sequence of the wave spells, the sequence of the castles, the sequence of the entire cycle. And here we have recap of everything that I mentioned until now. We have the glyphs, the archetypes, the energies. Each day has its own energy. The day we're born, that energy is our sign, our invitation of what we're here to do. So if you know your kin number, you know which day of a wave spell you were born into. In my case, I'm yellow electric star. I was born on the 3rd day of a wave spell. In my case, I was born in the wave spell of the white world bridger, the one that bridges the worlds. I do that by sharing my creativity. Number 3, connecting the dots, bonding. So it would be beautiful if you're just becoming familiar with the Tzolkin to check in the daily Tzolkin, select another date, put your date of birth, search which kin you are, kin number and the energy of the day you were born, which wave spell. If you do that on the daily Tzolkin, when you put your mouse on the image, it tells you, without clicking, just hovering over it, it tells you what it is. So you will see there in which wave spell you were born and the energy of birth, the day you were born. The questions are, what is my purpose in this lifetime? The first day of the wave spell answers that. My purpose in this lifetime is to bridge the worlds. I was born on the first day of the White World Bridger wave spell. So that's my purpose in this lifetime. How do I accomplish my mission? What do I need to do? And that's awakening my inner artist and playing with creativity. And how do I do all that? With number 3 of bonding. So again, for the ones that are just starting, check your date of birth and answer to those questions. What is my purpose in this lifetime? The wave spell will answer to that. In which way do I accomplish what I'm here to do? That will be your glyph of the day you were born. And how do you do that? That's the subtle energy that is being brought by the lunar tone, the number. So let's go back here for a second. I mentioned about the glyphs that go from 1 to 20, from Imix to Ahau. I love bringing the Yucatecan name. It's an energy, it's a vibration, a sacred vibration of sound, and it brings power. Even though this is the modern interpretation, The energies are the energies. This is the sequence of the numbers. 113, 113, written with dots and bars. The glyphs, together with the tones, create kins of 260 days. And the sequence of 13 kins create what is called a wave spell, a sequence from 1 to 13 that tell a story. Castles are combinations of 4 different wave spells: red, white, blue, yellow, creating a cycle of 52 days that has each cycle a color as an invitation, right now for transcending. And all of it together, the 13 by 20 and all the subcycles within, are the matrix that we call it in modern times, a harmonic module of the Tzolkin that is composed by 260 days. We saw that within these 260 days or 260 kins, there are 52 days called GAP, Galactic Activation Portal days, that activate things within. They're felt with intensity. And for anybody in a GAP day, embracing beauty, opening up to magic. And people born on GAP days, this is a life invitation to see in which aspects of your life things feel messy, chaotic, because it's added that intensity, and what you're ready to transform to bring all that beauty into light and share your light with others. These concepts that I mentioned before are in the heart of the blue castle of transformation. The 2 gap columns, 10 consecutive days of galactic activation portals, and in the middle, the 7th column of the 13 columns, the heart, the center, symbolically the spine that keeps us straight and aligned, those 20 core days that invite us to breathe, to rest in between the intensity of the gap columns, and to reconnect with the pulse of life. These here that are in a different color, they work in correlation with the Tzolkin, but not the Tzolkin itself of 260 days. The 30-moon calendar is 365 days, 364 composed by 13 moons of 28 days each. That is a natural cycle, not the 30, 31st, 28, 29 that I mentioned before of the Gregorian calendar. And 1 day out of time, a day of transition. And that's the day that I was born, July 25th. And that's how I got familiar with the Tzolkin 20 years ago, that I saw somewhere in a magazine that it was, in that moment, the year of the White Wizard, from July 26th to July 24th. And I'm like, oh, there's a typo here. What happened with July 25th? I'm not there. And that's how it all started, when I learned that I was born in the day out of time in the 13-moon calendar. So what the original correlation, traditional correlation, happened of 365 days. In that moment, it was called Hab. Today, in the modern version, we do that with a 13-moon calendar. This is just a recap of what I mentioned a couple of times, that the Tzolkin is a shorter period of time of 260 days than a year of 365. So when we see it as spinning, this is also called galactic spin. It's spinning, and in this closure of a cycle, jumping into the next cycle, it creates a spiral of evolution, of expansive consciousness. So in this spin, there are 73 Tzolkin cycles within 52 years. Since the ego likes dramatic information and numbers, I like to make the joke, instead of 52 years, we can say that for 18,980 days, our energies are different. Even though, giving again the example of MayanKin, even though every 260 days I have the opportunity to celebrate my galactic birthday as Kin 68 that I am, I'm going to be able to celebrate my galactic birthday on my Gregorian birthday, July 25th, when I turn 52. So for those of you that are joining live or that will listen to the recording later, if you're close to 52 or you already passed 52, life is giving us the opportunity to, symbolically speaking, start all over again, energetically speaking. Because for the first time in our lives, since we were born, the pattern, the sequence of energies that we have each day starts repeating itself every 52 years. So when we turn 52, that day, it's the day of our conscious rebirth. We've been already through a lot of experiences in those 52 years, very much quote unquote, some good, some bad. In reality, it's all good, including the lessons and the button pushers, as I call them, to help us see things differently. And we can always use our discernment, what we do with that. And again, when we turn 52, we have that opportunity by transiting again the same sequence of kins to transform, to clear, to heal anything that we have from our childhood that still feels as painful, as difficult, as blockages that we have. Some people had situations of abuse, violence, or just lack of love in family dynamics. This is the time when we turn 52 to heal all that on an energy level, because we're transiting again for the first time those energies in what is called the calendar round, this 52-year cycle. On the contrary, maybe we have the most beautiful childhood filled with life, with joy, with beauty. And as we grew up, we made some choices that we lost all that excitement. Then this is the time to bring it back into our lives. So let's say somebody that is 60 years old, you are transiting 60 minus 52, the same energies as when you were 8 years old. So now the invitation again is to clear, transform, heal whatever is there, or on the other side, to bring back whatever was lost during the transition of becoming an adult. Here I have the last slide. So what I'm going to do, because I have a few questions, let me go back to the harmonic module. I know there's a delay because I'm moving my mouse and the slides take a little bit of time, so I'm going to do it slowly. Let's see. One more. Here we go. So this is what we saw before, the harmonic module that has the key numbers in it. We saw the next one that was a little bit more elaborated because that had the Gregorian dates in them in it. This one here has from 1 to 260 the kin numbers. So one of the questions that I have here in the chat is, what does a white resonant mirror do? So let's see what white resonant mirror is first. From 1 to 20, from the sequence of the glyphs from 1 to 20, mirror is here, number 18. Always, as I mentioned before, this sequence is fixed. So once you start getting familiar with the glyphs, you'll kind of have a feeling for it that it's in this area. So here it's number 18. The lunar tones, the numbers, have names. I didn't put all this information in the slides. Otherwise, for the ones that are just starting today, it's a lot of bit. But you can go to my website. You can find in different places. If you join next week, I'll be talking about each one of the lunar tones, the names, and so on. Resonant is number 7, the resonant tone. In any wave spell, number 7 is in the center. We have 13. So 6 from one side, 6 from the other side. Resonant number 7 is in the center. So white resonant mirror, that was the question that I got here in the chat box, is mirror 7. When you look in the harmonic module, you go mirror 7 is here. And you say, okay, that's the 7th day of a wave spell. How do I know which wave spell I was born into? So again, we know the glyph, white mirror. We know the tone, so we look here in the 13 numbers. We look for the tone. We know that number 7 is written with a bar and 2 dots. So here we found that you are kin number 98 from 1 to 260. This is your kin of birth. And to know which wave spell you were born into, you go back. You look for 1 dot. So let's say we are here and we want to see the wave spell. We go here, and then because the column ends, we continue on the previous column. So 98, we go backwards. Number 1, that's the magnetic tone. That's the tone that initiates your wave spell of birth. You come here, and this is the yellow human. So answering to your question, I'm going to read the question again. What does a white resonant mirror do? The answer is, let's talk in layers so I can go over the concepts that I mentioned from a theory point of view. Yellow human is the power of free will. I'm here to choose my path. I'm here to be the architect of life, to build what I want to see manifested in my life. So this is a beautiful, beautiful energy of freedom. I'm free to choose. What more than that? So many people in the world nowadays are not free to choose. So we take certain things for granted when in reality they're true blessings. We are free to choose. Now the question of the yellow human is, what am I doing with my free will? Am I choosing for my own growth and for the greater good? So as a wave spell, stone number 1, the day that you were born here on the 7th day of this wave spell, you're here to use your free will wisely for your personal growth and for the greater good of all. So the yellow human, that is the power of wisdom, of choosing, of free will, invites us to become conscious how we live our humanity. And that's a mega challenge for all of us humans, because we know so many times what we need to do, and we do exactly the opposite. And that's where the fine line comes, because I'll give a little bit of, I'll make a quick comment about light and shadow. Shadows always come in extreme as human beings that we are, or it's all good or it's all bad. So in the shadow side of yellow human, in the extremes, or I feel a victim of my circumstances and I cannot choose because I have no choice, and it's very difficult for me to be the architect of my own life because I don't own my own life. That's one extreme. The other extreme is I do whatever I want and I don't care how my actions have an impact on others. So from that selfishness, to say it somehow, of one extreme, the other extreme is I'm not living my life. I'm living through the eyes of others. I'm depending on others for the choices that I make. So answering to your question about the white resonant mirror, as a life purpose is to embrace your humanity and your free will. And now it's the beauty of the second layer. Okay, I know what I'm here to do. In which way do I do that? By cleaning the foggy mirrors. In which aspects of my life, relationships, job, any aspect of my life, I feel fog. I feel overwhelmed. I feel a confusion. I cannot see it clearly. So the mirror as an energy is the power of discernment that says, what's really happening here? Is it really happening or it's my imagination? Am I projecting my own ideals of what I would like things to be, I would like people to do? Or is it's a fact, it is happening. So that's also a very fine line, bringing again the light and shadow, because the mirror says, clean the fog. Many times, we see things that we don't like. But it's so much better to see the truth for what it is than living in a fog. Because in that fog, we lose ourselves. So as we see the truth for what it is, White Mirror says, use your discernment. Again, what do you want to do with this? Do you want to keep things as they are? Do you want to give a closure to it? Let's say a relationship. I don't like what my partner is doing. It's totally not in alignment with who I am. Okay, do I continue in the relationship? Do I let go of the relationship? So we use our discernment with the energy of the white mirror to choose what to do with what we see. So first, I'm willing to see the truth for what it is. It doesn't matter if I don't like it. On the contrary, I'm ready to see it. And then I choose what to do with that. Number 7 of any wave spell invites us to center ourselves in our hearts. Our ego mind gets very, very, very upset, angry, sad when the mirror of life reflects something that we don't like. And that's why the mirror, by the way, is the challenge of today, because the mirror is the challenge of the star. As a star, we see things with pink tinted glasses. So the mirror brings a different reflection back. So I'm going to leave it there because there are several questions that are entering. This is again on a concept level. Play with it. When you do also your oracle, the mirror has helpers that add information to what am I here to do and how do I do that. So you can also see it on my website. When you put your date of birth, you'll see your oracle of birth, and then by hovering over the images, it will give you more information. And we can always book a session, of course, and go more into depth as well. So let me go to another question. Okay, all the questions that I'm getting now are more on a personal level, so I'm going to just answer in general. So we can leave a little bit of time as well to answer to generic questions, mainly about the cycle that is ending very soon. So then we can all get in tune with the new cycle to come. One of the questions is the magnetic ego. I shared the previous wave spell that ended actually yesterday. So maybe what I can do very, very briefly, I have a whole webinar on that we're going to be going in depth of what each one of the archetypes mean. Because, and it happens to me as well. I said before, I've been 20 years in this path, and every day I learn something new. There's so many layers and so many angles to connecting the end of the day with life. So I'm going to mention, instead of answering to each one of the questions personally, I'm going to answer in general so that you can all have a feeling for your kin of birth. And afterwards, you will be able to also enjoy playing with it by yourself and exploring further. That's when, for me, the fun comes, when we start diving into the energies and cycles in our own rhythms and ways of connecting with life. So I'm going to mention very, very briefly about each one of the glyphs. Maybe for that, it will be better to go to the first one. Let me go back. It takes a little bit of time for the as I mentioned before, this is my first webinar that I'm hosting. Hopefully for next time, I can have, let me see, like tabs open or something. I still don't know how to do that. So let me go back one more. I want to go to the slide that has the glyphs in them. So it's a little bit bigger for everybody to see. It becomes easier. Here. So I mentioned before that from 1 to 20, there's a story that is being told. There are questions about blue eagles and warriors and several different of the glyphs. So once you know your key number, in your glyph, in this case, you can dive into the layers of what your energy means. So now I'm just going to do a very quick overview as a story being told between 1 to 20. 1 is the power of birth, the mother, the one that initiates. We're being born. Number 2, the white wind, is breath, the air that we breathe, life itself. Life goes from breath to breath, literally. Our voice, sharing our message with the world. We were born, we start growing up. Blue night helps us to see things, new things. Oh my God, look at this. This is all new for me, like little children. This is the power of abundance. Wow, I have all these possibilities, all these different ways of seeing things. The seed, when we're little and we tell our mother, I'm already grown up, don't tell me what I need to do, and maybe I'm 3 years old. So growth, expansion. Here, the red serpent, I like to talk about the red serpent as when we lose our teeth, the time of shedding, the time of letting go of, so we create space for the new to come. This is passion, vital force as well. Here, the next one, Once the tooth fell, we don't glue it back. We leave it empty for the new one to come. This is the power of death, of surrendering, so that we can bridge our worlds. If we're so hooked into the human ego drama, we cannot bridge our worlds. So it's surrendering. The blue hand of healing, of accomplishment, hands-on, awakening the healer within. Today, that I mentioned several times, that's the energy of today. Yellow star of beauty, creativity. The goddess, the creative flow, not goddess, man, woman. The energy of becoming sensitive, allowing oneself to be vulnerable and flow, releasing repressed emotions, feeling, not being afraid to feel. The power of love with the white dog, living a heart-centered life. And in order to love others, it all starts with self-love. So coming back to our own hearts as well. We play as the monkey that invites us to reconnect with our inner child and have fun and enjoy. Here, I mentioned before, the yellow human, the power of free will and making conscious choices wisely. After the yellow human, we have the red Skywalker, the adventure of life, inviting us to explore and to see what is heavy on us so that we can empty our backpacks and walk lighter in life. This is an important day to take into consideration, January 31st, in just a few days. We have Skywalker, Skywalker 6, double Skywalker, the power of adventure. And that day we have a full moon that is the second full moon, super moon of January. So it's called blue moon because it's the second super full moon of this month. And it's also called red moon because there is a total lunar eclipse. So remember, January 31st, it's a very, very powerful day to see what we're carrying in our backpacks so that we can clear, as the moon, emotions that are stuck, that we feel blocked, and it's difficult for us to move and flow and feel beyond them so that we can truly experience beauty in the world as the wasteful that we're in of the yellow star that starts today. Here we have the white wizard, the power of magic, that experience of living in awe, in wonder, of having that confidence to create magic in our lives. Blue eagle, those were some of the questions that we had. As the big eye, that's the power of vision, the one that sees. And sometimes we see too much and we feel to be overwhelmed. So it helps, it invites us to spread our wings and fly higher and higher so we can see the big picture. And that's why I mentioned before that's just the last wave spell that ended. So if you go to my blog, mayankin.com/blog, you can go to the previous wave spell. The new one that starts today was already posted, and there's a little bit more information there about the blue eagle, the power of vision, the one that sees, and being number one, the one that initiates the wave spell. Here we have the yellow warrior. That was also some of the questions. Yellow warrior is, as we see here, we have a question mark and we have lines. What do I want? Where do I want to go? What do I want to do? I ask myself questions and I have options. I always have options. So the one that sets goals, the strategic planner that invites us to be fearless, to walk our path with determination. Pachamama, Red Earth, invites us to be grounded, to be present, to reconnect with Mother Nature, with our own nature, to embrace the web of life that we're part of, that we totally forget about it. We're so busy. The ones of you that already took classes with me or travel with me heard me saying this many times. We have lots of iPhones and iTunes and iPods and iPads, and we end up forgetting about the I. So Red Earth reminds us to go back to the self and ground and be present. White mirror I mentioned before, the power of reflection, discernment, what I want. The blue storm, the power of transformation that invites us to, as we see here, stand still and centered in the eye of the storm, independently of what happens around us, to come back to heart and embrace that chaos as an opportunity to transform and grow, self-generation. And the last one, the yellow sun, is the power of illumination, the possibility of embracing our inner light, shining from within and spreading our light with the world, and feeling empowered to do that. So I said it very, very, very quickly. Again, I'm going to continue sharing about it more in depth the next webinar about the planner, and then I have a whole series to go in depth because there are many, many layers for each glyph. So it can be seen from different perspectives, both in the light and in the shadow. The beauty to see it like this quickly is to connect with that story from birth to illumination. I will mention as well, because there were some of the questions too. Let's go here about the tones. I set the purpose. This is number one, the magnetic tone. Okay, but I want to do that, and maybe that other thing happens. Number two presents the conflict. Number three says zero conflict. It doesn't have to be black and white. There are many options in between. So let's connect the dots and keep things flowing, going. Number four gives shape and form to what we want to accomplish. 5, we empower ourselves. Which resources do I need? Including my own authority, my own power. 6 brings balance. And that's what I was mentioning before about Skywalker 6 on January 31st, because since we have that day, the super powerful full moon, super moon, blue moon, red moon eclipse, in order to restore balance, we need to empty our backpack. So if we continue adding more stuff and more adventures, but it feels very heavy, it becomes very, very difficult to enjoy what we do. So that's number 6, January 31st. 7, that I mentioned for the example of the white mirror, the resonant tone, the center, getting in tune, aligned, the center between the 13. We have 6 this side, 6 this side. 8, not the tone of integrity, of harmony, bringing all the pieces together. 9 is that last push when we're ready to manifest in 10. So 9 will be like a tone of preparation, of reconnecting with intention that I set in number 1, as I get ready to give that final push, keeping that intention moving forward to manifest in number 10. So one of the questions, let me go back to the box. One of the questions was about yellow planetary warrior, to manifest my goals by being fearless to walk my path with determination. First, knowing what I want, so setting goals, and that planetary tone helps to manifest it. Number 11, the tone of dissolving, liberating, releasing. Sometimes, unless we were born as tone 11, it can feel a little bit intense for the ego, same as number 2. In 2, sometimes we feel polarized with the conflict, and 11, we don't like it, but I don't want to let it go because I don't know what's on the other side. So 2 and 11 are beautiful, beautiful tones to tell our ego it's all good and let our soul thrive. In this case, by dissolving what no longer serves. 12 is the tone of sharing, of cooperation, from everything that we learned, sharing it with others. And 13, that will be, as we saw in all the examples in the slides that I've been sharing, in this wave spell. Let's go back here. It starts with star 1, setting the purpose of creativity, transiting the 13 days, and on day number 13, that is called the cosmic tone, it's giving closure to this wave spell by getting ready to transcend to something else. And what is beautiful is that by transiting at the moment, the last wave spell of this cycle, so just to refresh a little bit for the new ones, the 260-day cycle that is composed by 20 wave spells. Each glyph initiates a wave spell. Today, we're starting the last wave spell of these 260 days. So in the next 13 days, not only the invitation is to embrace beauty and creativity for these 13 days, but also to connect with how we've been experiencing this cycle with all the ups and downs. Again, they're not good or bad, just opportunities and lessons and blessings, how we've experienced that. And if there are things that have been feeling, maybe they're still happening, as intense, as difficult, as upsetting, bring color into that. Do little rituals, because the ego mind takes things, that's the shadow of the blue monkey, takes things very seriously, and we forget how to play, and we start suffering and worrying because things are not happening as they should and we would like them to be. So embracing creativity in the next 13 days is a wonderful opportunity to transform them from a much lighter place without having to do so much, but to be more and to play more. And it doesn't matter how difficult it is for you, but just bringing more color into it, magic happens. As I mentioned at the beginning, we need to try. Otherwise, it's just a very interesting accumulation of concepts. The moment that we truly put it into practice, things happen. And that's when we get hooked and we cannot get out of it, as it has been happening to me for the last 20 years. So I would like to leave because we have around 30 minutes left. You're welcome. You're welcome. Other questions, especially for the new ones. I don't know if you are, we have somebody from the UK. If you're live at the moment or you'll listen to the recording later, but several people said that it was totally new. So especially for the ones that are just becoming familiar with it, let's see, if anybody would like to ask anything or comments. So I know that some of you have been using the Tzolkin for a while or for a long time. And that's the beauty as well. I love doing my own oracle reading with other people that do this as well, because there's so many, as I said before, perspectives, layers, that it's never ending. Energy is energy. We just, in this case, share way of connecting with it. But it's happening. We're aware of it or not. So the thing is, the more we become conscious about it, and that's what, for me, this is all about. That's how I see it. There are many different ways of connecting with the Tzolkin, the Tzolkin, the dream spell. I'm a very pragmatic person. For me, things, not that it needs to make sense, because I do a lot of things in my life that really don't make too much sense, and I love it. But I need to feel in my heart a value for that. That, oh, you're welcome. A person from Malaysia, today is her Gregorian birthday. So what a blessing that you can be with us participating live. So for me, the translation of awakening, we hear that all the time, the great awakening, the time of awakening, is to become conscious that we're much more than skin and bones, that we're much more than daughters, mothers, in my case of 4 legs. We're so much more than this. And the more conscious we become, we don't need to understand anything. We don't need to know anything on a rational level. There's another saying that I love repeating myself: mind thinks, heart knows. And that knowingness comes on a heart level. So by embracing, because a lot of people as well sometimes send to me emails, but which count is right? Because in the Tzolkin I'm this, in the Tzolkin I'm this, and it's so different. And what happens with the dreams when it's something modern? And I'm like, basta, stop. It doesn't matter. Are you going to give classes in Harvard about Mayan culture and the purity of? No, you just want to enjoy life and grow and share that beauty and be of service. So whatever feels good in your life, whatever feels good in your heart, it's marvelous. It doesn't matter what it is. So that's, for me, the awakening of becoming conscious of our thoughts, becoming conscious of our feelings. And then the tough part, making decisions and actions, because many times we know what doesn't work in our life, but we continue doing the same because that's what we know. And we just repeat patterns. Let me see, because I'm seeing here questions. Let me see. Okay, one of the questions is, what does it mean to be guided by my own power doubled? I haven't covered it here because it's a chapter in itself, the oracles. If you go to MayanKin.com, today's energies daily Tzolkin, I mentioned before, for those of you that you're not familiar with your kin, or you just want to play with it, for me, the best way to play with it is by gossiping all your friends and beloved ones, what they are and how they relate to you. And it's like, oh, now it makes sense. So if you go there, you may find that. So thank you for asking this question, because you'll see it in the daily Tzolkin, guided by my own power doubled. In an oracle, I mentioned before, we have helpers. Each helper has a different purpose. One holds us and helps us in a very clear way. Another one is a little bit more subtle and pushes us to thrive. Another one feels more challenging. And we have one of the helpers that guides us, that shows us the way. So there are certain combinations that the guide and the main glyph, the sign, the energy repeat itself. So that's going to happen on January 31st for the full moon, that I said, red Skywalker 6. I mentioned Skywalker twice, because that day, the guide of Skywalker is also Skywalker. I cannot get into depths because there are many questions here that I still need to answer. And again, this is a little bit more advanced. But if you see that in your own chart, in your own oracle, or in the energy of the day, the message is being reinforced. Today, if you look at the oracle of today in the daily Tzolkin, as our friend from Malaysia that is joining us, that today is her Gregorian birthday, and it falls as star 1. Star 1, 2 stars. The guide and the day, the energy of the day repeats itself. So it will say in the bottom, guided by your own power doubled. The energy that guides you is the same energy that you have in this case this year. So the message of creativity, of art and beauty reinforces itself. Just to give one example, in my case, I'm Yellow Star and I'm guided by Yellow Human. So my guide is to become conscious of what I'm doing with my free will and how I'm making my choices, and using that wisdom through creativity to share with others with number 3. And bridging the worlds as the purpose that I have as the White World Bridger wave spell. Let me see here. chart. How can we use our personal in groups to enhance our understanding and play that? Is there a way? That's a beautiful question, actually. Thank you. The question is, when we see our own energies, and the question here is a person that did the charts of all the friends, that's comparing to one's own chart. How can it enhance our understanding and play with the energies that it brings in? And that's for me, is there a way to enhance? That's for me what this is all about. Life is about relationships, starting with the relationship we have with our own selves. So the more we know ourselves, the more we know why we do the things we do, the more we connect with the real intention behind our actions, the more we can transform, and the more we can enhance our relationships with others. So answering to your question, there are different ways of doing that. One is to see two charts, one next to the other, and see compatibilities or challenges, and how two people relate to each other or a group of people. And there's another way that is very, very, very powerful, and is doing a combined chart, a combined oracle. So the relationship between two people or a group of people gets another, it's like a third entity, to say it somehow, the energy of the relationship itself, which is also very powerful to see what each person brings into the relationship. So answering again to the second part of your question, this is also an invitation for all of you. Check the energies of your beloved ones, the ones that you love and you enjoy being with them, and the ones that are button pushers and make you curly hair like mine, like, oh. So it will give you a whole new understanding the way you connect with others. Again, light and shadow. I've had several times in these last 20 years, oh, how does it work with twin sisters or twin brothers if they have the same oracle, the same chart, and they're so different? How can it happen? And answering to that question, and answering to your question as well, free will. Yellow star can be super creative, do beautiful things, bring beautiful things into the world, or can be super perfectionist, stuck in the world of appearances. Things need to look a certain way. So there you go. Two people can be yellow star and connect with it totally different. Same with Western astrology. You have the same sign, Leo, can be a great leader, a guide to others, showing the way, helping others to find their own way. Or it can be a person that my way is my way and things are done my way and I'm the only one and super arrogant. So same here with the Tzolkin. When we play with the energies, our own, and how we relate to others, to connect with both the light and the shadow aspects. And we're not here to change anybody, as we know. We're only here to change oneself. So using your discernment, because you're the white mirror, you asked the question before, to choose how that relationship can be enhanced once you know what the kin or the energies of that person are. Go here in the chart. I see some people that were having problems connecting. The thing is that since this presentation is going to be, the webinar is going to be recorded, if you're having problems listening or the visual part, sometimes it can be a connection, Wi-Fi connection from your side. You can listen to the recording later. birth skin falling on different gun. I need to follow. This is a very good question as well. We have an oracle of birth. That's our energy from breath to breath. From the moment we choose to come back to this crazy world of human beings, as I say, joking, of course, until the day we choose to depart into our next adventure. That's our oracle of birth. That's our energy of birth. And that's what we're here to do and to learn in this entire lifetime. Every year, we have an oracle of transit that invites us to focus on a particular theme in our lives. The oracle of birth is the oracle of birth. It applies always. The theme that we're here to focus on this year is given by the oracle that you have on the day of your birthday. So answering to your question, if this year you have a different energy from birth and in a different castle as well, the invitation is to embrace what the energies of transit are asking you this year, specifically for this year. So birth is birth. That's a lifetime. And this year you can, on top of it, focus on, in this case, transformation. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Let me check. Okay, thank you. Redmond Skywalker, what can I do? Yeah, as I mentioned before, don't worry if you're not able to connect earlier. There are people from different parts in the world in this call. So many people said that they will not be live and will just listen to it later. So a couple of answers here. A person that is a Skywalker, the full moon on the 31st is a double invitation, or in this case, triple, because we have the Skywalker that day, and you are Skywalker from birth as well. And especially being lunar, that for the ego sometimes it brings that experience of conflict. Number two, oh, I want to do this, but what happens if? That day is a wonderful opportunity to see in which ways you connect with that, what happens if, what those questions that feel, that puts you in a position of self-doubt. What are those themes in your life that you feel them as self-doubt? Yeah, so that day is wonderful. Wonderful to empty your backpack, wonderful to connect with those aspects of your life that may feel like a conflict, and embracing, in this case, the eclipse to steer whatever is there, that sometimes things that we don't want to see, as I mentioned before, to bring them to surface so that your backpack becomes lighter and you can enjoy your adventures. So if you're a lunar skywalker, if you go backwards, you also see that you're in the wave spell of the yellow human. And that was the example that I gave before for the person that asked about the white resonant mirror. You're both in the same wave spell. So just to give here as an example, you're both here to embrace your humanity by choosing wisely, and you do it differently. The previous person that asked the question is about cleaning the foggy mirrors, and in your case, it's emptying your backpack so that for the mirror, the outer and the inner worlds reflect in harmony, and for the Skywalker, we can enjoy our adventures. Let me see. Okay, so yeah, here as well, asking about the tones, the magnetic tones that a few people asked that you are magnetic from birth, like today, the magnetic tone. One is purpose. One is the one that sets the intention, sets the purpose, sets the theme, the underlying theme of the next 13 days. So, and also guided by, like today, magnetic, the same energy, the doubled that we saw before, the guide, the power is doubled. So in your case, as a magnetic storm, the previous question was magnetic ego, is about embracing that power of transformation, powerful transformation in whatever you do in your life by standing still in the eye of the storm. Otherwise, it feels very stormy. So yeah, there's a few magnetic kins that signed up for the webinar. Thank you again very much for the ones that filled up the survey. If you choose to participate in the following webinars and then the series that come later, that'll be a blessing to continue sharing with you. And if you can take 2 minutes to answer to those survey questions, it helps a lot. To have a better understanding of who is participating or listening to the recording later. And going back to the question about sharing the energies in groups, it also gives me an idea of the energy that is being generated in the webinar. That's what I always do. In any workshop, gathering, trips for the soul that I host, I always check the energies of the person individually and the energies of the entire group to see how all the participants relate between themselves. And in this case, with the information that I have available, because not everybody sent to me their keys or they didn't know their keys, it's all new. I check a combined oracle, to say it somehow, to see what energy is moving as I'm sharing, in this case, the basics of the Tzolkin. Another question here about February 8th that I mentioned briefly in different parts of the presentation, but it's good that it's coming back because it's a huge opportunity, especially for the new ones that are just embarking into this amazing adventure, to start doing it from day number 1. Whenever you become familiar with it, play with it at any time. And especially when the cycle starts, it's the mama, as I mentioned before. Let me go back for a second to the presentation. Let me see. No, I need to go the other way. What you see here, it's valid now as of February 8th. It's going to be old because we're now transiting this cycle. February 8th, a new cycle starts. So what I was mentioning before, when we start getting in tune with the cycle, day number 1, Red Dragon, the mama, the one that gives birth to something new, a moment of new beginnings, we can really, really experience the magic by following each day, by getting in tune, by getting connected with the daily energies in a way that it unfolds as a story. That's why I said before, connect with it whenever you connect with it. And if you're just becoming familiar with it today, beautiful day to start. As of February 8th, that a new Tzolkin cycle starts, pay attention to those amazing synchronicities, how things start unfolding as this story that is being told. For me, one thing that has been very, very, very powerful, I started journaling, especially when I started with the Tzolkin more than ever in 20 years ago. And whenever I'm ready, I'm going to share it. That will be another book. The Tzolkin book that I wrote got written through me. I was not planning to write a Tzolkin book because I always said that you don't learn this through a book, you learn this through experience. But I guess that the Web of Life had a different opinion about it, and I became a channel for the book to manifest. But there is a book that I want to write when the time comes about my own story, my life journey, how I became who I am today. I come from a very, very academic corporate environment, and I had amazing opportunities in my life to start experiencing things in very, very different ways. And I want to share that eventually, my own life experiences and shadows and transformations and childhood and things that shifted in me. So for that, I have a lot of it recorded through my journals. I'm sharing this taking into consideration that a new cycle is starting February 8th this year. Remember that the 260 cycle is different. So not always it starts, of course, in February 8th. This is 260 days. The last one started March, as we have here, sorry, May 24th, 2017, to journal. If you do it already, great. If you never journaled, it's an invitation to write your intentions for the cycle, for each day, synchronicities that happen, experiences that you have, dreams that you have. Sometimes we don't remember our dreams. Sometimes we do. We wake up in the morning and we're like, oh, I had such a powerful dream. I have no clue what I dreamt, but it was very powerful. Have your little notebook next to you. Synchronicities mainly. That's for me the theme that, oh, I was thinking about that person and the person called. Oh, I was wanting to explore more about the Tzolkin and I got this invitation to a webinar. Pay attention to those synchronicities and things that feel difficult as well. And that's the beauty of journaling. It's not only the la la la, it's so beautiful and like the yellow star would love to have everything pink. It doesn't work that way. Life has also its ups and downs. Journal all that and you'll see, not only putting the Gregorian date, putting also the energy of the day, you'll start seeing patterns in your life and how though, and that's what we're going to do on the next webinar of the planner, how those patterns relate specifically to me, because I'm yellow star. There is another yellow star here present right now, person that is transiting through a yellow star this year. So yellow star means something to us. For you, it may mean something different. It may be your challenge. It may not even be in your chart. So as we start customizing, living it in a very personal level, if you journal it, it's each page, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow, really, oh wow, oh wow. And then it's like, yeah. Coincidences do not exist, for sure. Let me see, because several people, in regards to the survey for everybody, when you sign up, there is, when you get the confirmation, there is at the bottom an invitation to put there there are like 3 questions or something very, very brief. Again, all those answers are mainly for me to know who is listening to the webinar. a person here. Let's see. So here we have a person that is sharing star. We have a lot of stars actually on the call. That's really awesome. So we mentioned before, star 1, that is here. You are kin 88, and kin 88 is here. See, this one, let me go to the previous one because this one has the Gregorian dates. Kin 88, it's here. So if we go backwards, it's in the waves of the storm. Okay, going back to the question, how we relate to others. I'm going to give a very, very clear example of what's happening so that you have an understanding, to say it somehow, so you can apply it to whatever you do. There was a person that asked a question about the white resonant mirror. We go backwards and we see that it's under the wave spell of the yellow human. Later in the call, a person mentioned, I'm Skywalker too, Lunar Skywalker. You share the same purpose. Now we have a person that is sharing another star, kin 88. So kin 88, there is a gap day. Here, if we go backwards and we look for one dot, it's the blue magnetic storm. And one of the questions that we just got a little bit ago is, I am blue magnetic storm. So if you start seeing just here, the ones that are present at the call, and I'm sure the ones that couldn't attend live and you'll be listening to it later, you'll find a lot of synchronicities as well. How those relationships in your life manifest, and with whom you share purpose, with whom you share challenges. So yeah, thank you for sharing. Well, one of the challenges that I have is that because I was born in the day out of time that I mentioned before, July 25th, a huge challenge that I have as a human being is time. Being born in the day out of time doesn't help much because I just saw that we have just few minutes left. I cannot believe it that it's already 2 hours. So I'm just going to allow the last 5 minutes to anybody else. If you have any questions, any comments, anything that you would like to share, to do that in the next few minutes. And I'll go to the last presentation, the last slide in the presentation here. So these are the upcoming webinars. We have February 7th, the last day of this cycle. So that day is, that we saw before, the yellow cosmic sun. That day I'll have another free webinar sharing about the daily planner. As I mentioned at the beginning, but I saw that several people started joining the call later after we started. That webinar will be like, I'm going to have the planner in my hands and page number 1, page number, so we're going to be looking into the planner. If you don't have it, you can still participate. It will help you with the information anyway. And if you want to get the planner afterwards, you can do that through BridgingWorlds.net. The planner, we don't have a lot because it's something that expires, so we don't print too many per cycle. So I'm just saying that because we don't have that many left. So if you're interested, you can get it in BridgingWorlds.net. And then the other two webinars are series. So it's not only one gathering, it's a series of gatherings. The one that starts February 8th, that one will be to surf together. through the wave spells of the new cycle that starts. So we get together every other wave spell to get in tune. That one is practical. I'm going to be sharing, of course, a little bit of the framework that what we're going to do and cycles, but not like today. Today is very conceptual. That one is mainly very ideas, practical ideas, rituals, things that you can do each day, how to experience the cycle, how to embody the energies. So that is very down to earth. And that one will be for several gatherings. That one is paid per webinar each time we meet, per session, or for the whole cycle if you want to participate for the whole program. And the same with the archetypes. I mentioned very briefly, like 2 words, what they mean. Here we're going to really go in depth. Each one of the archetypes, light, shadow, rituals, what do they mean if they are analogs, helpers, challenges. So that one as well will be several gatherings. You can sign up only for one or for the whole series. Let me see. Okay. I'm going over here the questions quickly. Yeah, a few questions that I mentioned before, but I'm not sure they were answered. The light and the shadow. Once you become familiar with your archetype, with your kin, with that combination between glyph and number, see in which aspects you relate more to the shadow side or to the light. And then embracing the opportunities that energy brings to transform light into shadow. We have 3 minutes left. Anything else that you would like to ask or share just to wrap it up? Here, I was playing with my butterflies, and in the wave spell messages for this cycle, they were all black and white with the intention if you wanted to also print them and color them. This last one, being the yellow star wave spell, it became colorful, and that's the invitation that I have to wrap up what I want to share today. Is that you find your own way to bring more beauty into your days, to bring more beauty into the world. And this for me has been an incredible magical tool for almost 2 decades, next year, 20 years. And I hope that it also touches your heart as it touched mine. So thank you very much to the ones that could attend live, to the ones that are going to be listening to the recording. Blessings to all, and hope to see you on the 7th for the planner webinar. I got the number. A question about how you get the recorded webinar. When we finish, it's going to be yeah, we're getting several people asking the same. The webinar will be recorded, and all of you that signed up are going to get from Webinar Jam. It comes from me, but it's automatic link to where the recording is stored. These webinars will not be public in my website. That's why it's by invitation only, and you need to sign up. So once you get the that link, the link will direct you to where the recording is, and we'll see if we can somehow put it in our platform as well. So again, thank you very much, and you're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome to all of you, and look forward to see you very, very soon. Many blessings to everybody, and happy closure of this Tzolkin cycle.